appreciate the opportunity to explain what we're doing. And what we're doing is simple. We're trying to save at least part of Louisiana. First, the background. We're an independent board. That's the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority. We were created by a constitutional amendment passed after Katrina with 81% of the vote. The amendment envisioned a board of experts who would try to prevent another such catastrophe. A board of experts independent of political influence. And a special nominating committee was created, including deans of engineering schools in the state, and representatives of engineering and scientific societies, and good government groups. This committee advances nominees to the governor. The governor has to pick off the list. The Senate confirms, and unlike the other legislators in the state, once we're appointed, we do not be replaced except for cause. We do not serve at the governor's pleasure. To guarantee we see the big picture, we are not parochial. The law requires us to have 4 members from outside our jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction is levy districts in St. Bernard, Orleans, and East Jefferson Parish. We also have jurisdictions over Kansas, and St. Tammany, but they don't have levy districts at this time. Our board has expertise in engineering, meteorology, coastal science, oceans, and the history of levees. From North Carolina, we have the co-author of the most advanced storm surge model in the world. From California, we have the head of the floodplain management for the state of California. Another board member who lives here in Baton Rouge now, who's written textbooks used in college courses. I have the least technical training of any member of the board, but I routinely participate in working groups at the National Academies of Science. And I am the only non-scientist to ever win an honor given by the National Academies for contributions to water-related research. I also serve on advisory boards at MIT's Center for Engineering Systems Fundamentals and Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, their Center for Refugees and Disaster Relief. We may be naive politically, and maybe that's why we were foolish enough to go where others have not been willing to go. We all take our task very seriously and very personally. 2 of our board members lost everything they owned in Katrina. Several of us know people killed in that storm. And all of us know someone who lost everything. Flood protection has nothing to do with partisanship. This is not a partisan collision that we're having. We are a majority Republican board, including 1 vocal Tea Party member and at least 1 other member who leans that way. With unanimous support, unanimous vote, we filed suit because we don't want other people to die in a hurricane or have their homes and livelihoods destroyed. It's that simple. Those who created our board wanted to insulate us from political pressure, exactly the kind of pressure that's been exerted on us in the last month. We've gotten criticism from public figures, but a lot of support from the public. We believe the public understands, and the more people who hear what we're doing and why, the more support we have. The first point I want to make is that no one has criticized the substance of our lawsuit. Let me repeat, no one has criticized the substance of our lawsuit. Louisiana is not like any other state. 12,000 square miles of this state, all the way north to the Arkansas border, and including our entire coast, was formed by sediment coming down the Mississippi River. We're not like other coastal states, not like Texas or Mississippi, much less Maine or Oregon. We have no rocky cliffs on the coast. We have mud held together by plants, by roots on the coast. And that mud is melting into the ocean. We have never said oil, gas, and pipeline companies are solely responsible for the loss of nearly 2,000 square miles of our state. There are multiple causes of that loss, including 6 dams in Montana and the Dakotas, which retain almost 1/3 of all the sediment that used to flow down the Mississippi River and out into the Gulf, where it would be used to replenish our coast. This is not just about levees. The causes are not just levees. The western part of the state is outside the river's floodplain. If there were no levees at all, floodwater from the Mississippi River would never reach that area of the state. And if levees were the cause, the sole cause, out west they would have no land loss at all. But they do have land loss. And the fact that there are multiple causes of this land loss does not mean that an entity responsible for part of the destruction should not be accountable for its role. The truth is the truth. Every scientist agrees that the oil and gas industry has done extraordinary damage to our coast. Even the industry concedes it. The one U.S. Geological Survey study, which included industry scientists, concluded that 36% of the damage statewide comes from the industry. Other estimates put it higher. Let me quote you something. Quote, "Dredging canals for oil and gas pipelines took a toll on the landscape. Canals and pipelines crisscross South Louisiana marshes. The coastal marshes were lost when spoil banks were left randomly throughout the area, drastically altering the natural hydrology. Salt water intrusion increased and more land was lost. Canal dredging has had one of the most dramatic effects on wetland growth and regeneration. The marsh is unable to regenerate itself. This is industrial negligence," unquote. What I just quoted from you is not from our lawsuit. That comes from the state's master plan. It is also true that the industry operated under permits, which require them, in most cases, to minimize damage and repair it when they finish. The industry has failed to adhere to these requirements. Those are the two fundamental facts which drove us to consider taking legal action. There is a third truth. Everyone on the board has wondered how we can meet our responsibilities. We do not see our job as simply operating and maintaining a levee system handed to us by the Corps of Engineers. Our job is protecting people's lives and property. We just concluded a study of the land bridge extending out into Lake Pontchartrain from New Orleans east. If that narrow spit of land goes away, if that erodes, then the ocean will roar into Lake Pontchartrain. It will threaten lives and livelihoods of people who have never been threatened before. Reinforcing that land bridge alone would cost, according to the study, $1.2 billion. We don't have that money. As we look at the tremendous expenses necessary to maintain minimally adequate protection, we see nothing coming in. I saw one critical comment of us saying, "We have a master plan, let's give it a chance." I absolutely agree with that statement. Let's give it a chance. Nothing we do is at variance with the master plan. We want to carry out the master plan. The master plan has no funding. Let me repeat. Nothing we're doing is inconsistent with the master plan. What we're doing will, in the lawsuit, if we win, will allow us to carry out the master plan in our area. The master plan has no funding. Our board believes that for our jurisdiction, we have an absolute duty to pursue this case. If we don't do it, we see no way of getting the money needed to protect the public. Our case, is based on the fact that we are forced to maintain and possibly build more elaborate flood protection defenses because of land loss than we would otherwise have to do. The industry's failure to comply with permits, Their failure to do what they voluntarily agreed to do in exchange for taking hundreds of billions of dollars out of the state, close to $500 billion in the last 20 years. This failure to comply with permits has destroyed land. That land loss means there is no buffer of land to block storm surge, and that sends more water pounding against our levees. As the saying goes, thank you, the levee protects the people, and the land protects the levees. The land is disappearing so fast that by 2100, if nothing is done, New Orleans will be essentially an island. The levees will be beachfront property. Much of the rest of the Louisiana coast will be in worse shape. It will simply cease to exist. Louisiana also has a concept going back to the Romans called servitude of drain. This prohibits one party from increasing the natural flow of water from their property onto somebody else's property. The destruction of land is sending more storm surge pounding against our levees. That violates that Louisiana law. We believe the oil and gas industry violated the law, and these violations have endangered the people we are responsible to protect. Our suit does not ask that the industry restore the entire coast. They're not responsible for the entire destruction by any stretch. But they must restore the part of the coast that they destroyed. They must repair the part of the problem that they created. That's all we want. Fix the part that they broke. If some areas are impossible to fix, if they're open ocean now, then industry should compensate us so we can upgrade the flood protection system to take care of the increased risk they cause. We decided to file the lawsuit unanimously, and we unanimously reaffirmed our decision last week. We've been called a road board, but we first informed Garrett Graves, the head of the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, of our plans on December 4th, 2012. He attended our executive session on January 17th, 2013. Subsequently, we informed him several times that we plan to proceed. We're an independent, non-political board. We want to work with everyone, but ultimately each of us is responsible to his own conscience. We're all male on board, so I said his order. And we did not operate in stealth. We've been told we don't have the authority to sue. We welcome a court challenge to that. And you notice for all the talk, and there has been much of it, no one has filed for declaratory judgment against us. We know the court will uphold our authority. We've been criticized for trying to collect from an industry which was complying with the law at the time it conducted its operations. We believe that they were never in compliance with the law. If they are found to have been in compliance with the law, we will lose. We have been criticized that we are interfering with efforts to get a larger share of federal revenues of offshore drilling. We absolutely support that effort. In fact, Senator Landrieu asked me to submit a statement of support a few days before we filed the suit. I was happy to do that. We don't believe our lawsuit interferes with the attempt to get a bigger share of offshore revenues. And I would note that Senator Landrieu, the sponsor of that legislation, has said that Louisiana should pursue coastal restoration efforts everywhere, including in the courts. She has not condemned us. We've been told our suit may interfere with the BP trial. Our attorney checked with the attorney representing the state on that trial and was told our suit would not interfere. And frankly, how could it? The BP trial will be over long before our trial starts. So nothing in our filings could possibly be used against the state. However, at Garrett Graves' request, we did wait until after the first phase of the trial was completed before filing. We have been told that the state has litigation plans of its own, which our lawsuit interferes with. Those plans have been described to us, and in our board's unanimous opinion, our suit does not interfere. And depending on the exact way it might go, we feel that our suit will complement that effort quite well. And we have been told that will cost the state jobs. But the reality is the oil and gas industry will be here as long as the oil and gas is here. Look at BP as a perfect example. The state is suing BP. Every parish is suing BP, or every coastal parish, and maybe some that aren't coastal. Hundreds of lawsuits have been filed against BP. BP itself just last week sued the federal government to be allowed to bid on offshore tracts. As far as jobs goes, no one talks about the jobs that a major coastal restoration effort could create. These are not just construction jobs, not just transitory jobs. We have the potential to be the world leader in the science and engineering addressing this kind of work. Louisiana is the point of the spear, but every coastal area in the world will soon be encountering problems similar to ours. So we have the potential to produce great jobs, important jobs, that we can create a Silicon Valley of water-related expertise. Every one of the criticisms against us, none of them address the substance of the lawsuit. None of them say we're wrong, that oil and gas didn't destroy part of the land. Just part. I never said they were responsible for all of it. Every one of the criticisms comes down to one. Politics. Again, we are currently, anyway, an independent board, specifically designed to do what politicians will not or cannot do. They used to say the flag of Texaco flies over the Louisiana capital. People have to ask themselves if that's still true. Legally speaking, our action involves our jurisdiction only. We are not acting for the state or for any other parish or levy board. And ironically, our jurisdiction has lost less, in fact, much, much less land to oil and gas production than other areas of the state. But what's really at stake is the very existence of Louisiana as we know it. Garrett Graves agrees with that. I sit on the CPRA. All you have to do is read our master plan. And I have high regard for Garrett Graves. Make no mistake, I think he's done a terrific job at CPRA. I really do. I think we're much further along than we might otherwise be if we had someone else leading CPRA. But read the master plan. Everything we have is threatened. Our ports are threatened. Our way of life is threatened. If you hunt anywhere near the coast, where are you planning to hunt in the future? What will you hunt? What happens to the migratory birds when we don't have a marsh anymore? If you fish, where are you going to fish? Nearly every species in the Gulf depends on the Louisiana marsh for some part of its life cycle. And if you live on the coast now, where are you planning to live in the future? What will happen to your community? Because you won't be able to live where you are living now. The U.S. Geological Survey is currently remapping the coast. They've only finished one parish. They took 31 names off the map. They don't exist anymore. They're gone. That's in one parish. They get to other parishes, there are going to be hundreds of names coming off the map. This lawsuit presents a choice. You can protect the industry from having to live up to its word and obey the law, or you can protect people's lives and property from the crawling death of a vanishing shoreline and the violence of a hurricane storm surge. Protect the industry or protect Louisiana's way of life. It's really that simple. Nearly everyone in Baton Rouge seems afraid of the industry. They never talk here about the elephant in the room and about the damage the industry has done to the coast. Our current status as an independent board allowed us to take the action we did. Because of it, the elephant is no longer in the room. Right now, it's stampeding down the street. It's a lot harder to pretend the elephant isn't there. The issue cannot be ignored any longer. Too many people in Louisiana and too many things in Louisiana, too much of Louisiana life are threatened. The industry itself is threatened. Chris John, head of Mid-Continent Oil and Gas, says the industry recognizes the need to, quote, protect critical oil and gas infrastructure from storm surge, unquote, adding that, quote, our viability depends on, unquote, the coastal buffer. It's the industry saying it. The industry itself wants the problem fixed, but they want taxpayers to pay for the damage they did, either in taxes, federal or state, or increased flood insurance rates. If we succeed in getting a bigger share of offshore revenue, which we very definitely should get, we're getting it from the federal treasury, from taxpayers in Rhode Island, California, Missouri, and in Louisiana. The industry won't be paying a single penny more. That's just a split of how that revenue is going to be divided. That's all that changes. No taxes go up on anybody. And when work is done locally, if the money for a project comes from state funds or parish funds, then Louisiana taxpayers pay 100% of the burden. So the wealthiest industry in the world wants taxpayers to pay for what that industry itself damaged. Fix what you broke. That's all we're asking them to do. I am not against the industry. I really am not. I recognize it's enormously important in the state and in the country. I am proud of our ability to produce gas and oil here, the technology that we have here, the jobs that the industry provides for us here, to let Americans heat their homes and drive their cars with our product. I even worked for an oil company years ago. And in fact, wanted to apply for a job at the American Petroleum Institute, and I did get the job. In the end, that was a very difficult choice for me. I was going to have to leave writing if I took that job, and I decided not to take it. But I am not against the industry. The industry supported me personally for those years that I was working for. And I'm also not charging that the industry has done nothing. They have done things to help. They've done a lot of things to help. But they haven't done enough. The industry isn't responsible for all their land loss, but it is responsible for some of the land loss. It has to fix the part of the problem it created. And compared to the size of the industry, the burden will be small. To Louisiana, the benefit will be enormous. The master plan has no funding. BP money won't be enough, and even if we win, our lawsuit won't be enough either, not even to carry out the master plan in our area. It's inconceivable to me that we could possibly win enough money to carry out the master plan even in our jurisdiction. But if you start putting different sources of funds together, pretty soon you do have enough. And if we don't, most of the coast and most of the people who live there will be gone. Now, the governor asked us to withdraw the lawsuit. Last Thursday, our board unanimously passed two resolutions. The first affirmed the suit. The second said we consider a 45-day pause in the substantive part of the suit in return for a good faith effort to address the problem. Our board is not the problem. The land loss is the problem. And getting the industry to repair the part of the problem that it created. That's the problem. And if they do it, that'll go a long way toward a real solution. On Wednesday, CPRA will consider our resolution. We hope the CPRA will look upon our resolution as how it is meant, an olive branch. We propose a process that will in the end result in oil being at the table to discuss a resolution to save lives and property, including the industry's own property. Our lawyers have already agreed, in event of a resolution that emerges from this working group process, to waive their contract and have their fee determined in arbitration with the industry. And their fee would be paid by the industry, not by taxpayers, according to long-established principles of Louisiana law. When the task force is in place and acting in good faith, our lawyers will stand down in accordance with the resolution which we passed last week. I might add, we've been accused of being hijacked by lawyers. The idea for this lawsuit came from us, and we had a long search for the right lawyer. I think we found terrific lawyers. In return for a major contribution from the industry, there are many things the industry wants from the legislature which they are having difficulty getting right now. I would personally support many of those things. I am offering my support to the industry for a lot of things that they want. But this, of course, is not up to me. I do not have delusions of grandeur. Sometimes I have delusions of adequacy, but I don't have delusions of grandeur. It's up to the governor. And he's got tremendous abilities, there's no question about it. And whether you agree with all his policies or not, there's no question that when it comes to the coast, he's been a good, in fact, a very good governor. He can be a great governor for the coast. A great governor, period. If he stepped in, brought everyone together, and solved this problem. It could make him the greatest governor in Louisiana history, because there are not many problems that threaten the very existence of part of the state. And solving that is pretty big. That's really what I want. I want the governor to be great.